Hello everyone, I'm back with another tutorial from React UI, and today we are going to design this NFT marketplace designed by Nicolás. Okay, so let's take a look at his design over here on Dribble. The design itself is a NFT crypto marketplace, as you can see it right over here, and it contains two pages. First one is the home page, the second one is uh, the artwork itself, and there is another page which you don't see here, but he provided me with the Figma file, and there was another page called store, and we implemented that into our design. So let's take a look at his Dribble page. You got some beautiful and stunning designs, UI designs over here. Make sure you guys check it out and get some ideas from it. Okay, as you already know, I picked this one for you. So let's take a look at the final product. Here we got the first page, and the items are looking exactly the same like the design over here. Let me minimize this. Okay, and if we get back over here, and if we click on any of these, we get redirected to the artwork page as we designed, like this one over here. And there's another page called store, and if you click here, you get to see it. Another thing I want to mention is that these buttons work, this navigation system works as we did in the last video. And we got some tab over here which we learn how to make and create using React. And that's all. Let's dive into the project and start coding. So now that we are back, we should go ahead and create the project itself. In order to do that, you could use npx create react app in your command prompt or your terminal, but I prefer to use my repository which I've created myself, uh, and I've already included some styled components, some global styling in it, and we have the color.js file. So uh, I'm going to grab the URL over here, come back over here and open the CMD and type git clone, paste the URL, and name the folder as the following: YT React UI NFT Market. So after we press enter, the git will clone the repository for us. I will close this one, navigate over here. Keep in mind that if you clone this repository, you have to delete the .git file, or sorry, the folder. It's a hidden folder. You should enable this tick over here to see the hidden items. And as you can see, there is a git folder over here. You should delete that. So to prevent any commit or any pull request to this repository, because we are going to use this as a boilerplate, not that we are going to update or change anything in this specific repository. After we've done that, we come over here, open the Visual Studio Code, and navigate this directory over here: source, assets, and the file color.js. We should replace the colors. I will replace the colors. I had them copied. So after we've done that, let's go ahead and delete this. Close this file. We need to change some namings here in the package.json file. I'm going to name it as same as the folder. So React UI NFT Market. After we've done that, we need to install some extra packages for this specific project. We're going to need the uh, npm install. We need the React router DOM and the React icons for this project. After we've installed those two packages, we need to go ahead and type in npm install to tell the npm that we need these packages. So go ahead and install them for us, because we cloned this repository, we don't have them already installed. So in order to make sure that everything is fine and working, you should type in npm install and wait for the package to get installed. After that, as you can see, we got the packages installed, and the node modules folder is right over here, so we should be good to type npm install and get the project up and running. It might take a while, but since it's a pretty light project, it should go ahead and boot very fast. So as you can see, let me close this or minimize this and move it over here. Now we have this one. We should get rid of this default page. In order to do that, we go ahead and come over here, remove this, and this one. Okay, first step is going to be configuring the routes here. In order to do that, I'm going to import the router as router. We need the routes and the route itself. It's a lot of routes here. Import from React router DOM. If I'm not wrong, so it should not be import here. And after we've done that, we need to create a router, include some routes inside the routes element using this one, this object, which is called route. I know there's a lot of routes, but we will get the hang of it. Okay. For this purpose, I'm going to wrap all the elements in here inside the router. And inside this I will paste the app elements itself. After that, we need to separate the page into two different sections. So the reason is we have navigation here and we have a page here. So we want the page to be scrollable and navigation to stick to the bottom. So in order to do that, I will create a new style component here, call it maybe pages equals to style dot div, and include it over here. Inside the pages, okay, we got an error here. Router. It's good to go now. It was a misspell. We need to include some routes inside the pages. So I will use the routes element we have over here and define some routes in it. Route number 1 is going to be, let me type in the exact and give it the path in which the component that we provide to it it's going to get rendered. Path is going to be the store and the element. Okay, in element we pass in a JSX syntax for now and call it store. Close this route. Let's copy this. Let me close this one. Press Ctrl B. You get the sidebar closed, and let's rename this to product. And over here, in order to duplicate the line, you can press Alt and Shift and press the arrow key up or down. Depending on which direction you press, you get a duplicated key above or beneath the line you're in. Okay, after this, we need to remove this one over here and call this one home. Now that we have our route configured over here, let's fix this justification over here. So I will remove the justify content center. The flex direction should be column, and the position is going to be absolute because we are going to stretch the app element all over the viewport. We need the position to be absolute. Left is going to be 0, Top is going to be 0. We align it right in this corner, top and the left 0. Width is going to be 100% of the viewport's width, and overflow is going to be hidden. We don't want anything to get scrolled or shown. We don't want to get any scroll bars here, and it's going to be hidden. And the height of this element is going to be 100% of the viewport's height. After we've done that, oops, we already had that here, so let's remove this. After we've done this, we get the app element in a good shape that we wanted. It will wrap itself around the whole viewport. The next step is going to be give the pages some styling. We'll make the pages flex 1, so it will take all the available place over here. The next step is going to be set the display of the page itself to flex, and set the overflow to hidden. Okay. Now that we've done that, let's go ahead and make our navigation here. In order to do that, I will need to create a folder called components inside the asset folder. So we press Ctrl B. Over here we create a new folder called components, and inside the components we'll create a new file called navmenu.js. Inside the navmenu.js we need some objects. First one is the styled, from the styled components. The next one is going to be some icons that we need. Let me show you the picture of the home page or the navigation, which contains the home page, which contains the navigation. We need this home icon and this store and the person over here. I have them already installed using React icons. If you want to see them, you can go over here, type React icons, and in here you can see all of the icons. Oops. Open those. Okay, let's go back over here inside the React icons. You can go ahead and search, for example, home. I'm going to use the FY home. If you search for it, you can see it over here. You can press on that and it will copy that for you. Okay. So now that you know how to find your icons, let's get back into the code and use them. FY home is the icon for the home that we are going to use from the React icons, icons/FI. The next icon we need is the user. So let me put this over here so you can see the icons. I'm going to use AI outline user from the AI package. And the last icon that we need over here is the store. So I'm going to use BI store and change the package to BI over here. After that, we need to import the colors from this one. Colors. Then we need to import two things. First one is going to be use location. Second one is going to be use navigate. These are the navigation objects that we're going to need. Use navigate from React router down. Now that we have those, let's go ahead and create our components itself. So I'm going to use this snippet to create a functional component. Remove this, const nav menu elements equals to style.nav. So let's replace this one with this and get back. Let's type something over here. Nav. Get back over here inside here, right beneath the pages, we include the nav menu, and you should see it right here. Yes, right down here. So next step is going to styling this nav menu. To style this, I will need, or we could do this one. I will come down here, define the elements, then convert them to the styled components. For this purpose, we need only one styled component, and that's link. So here, define a link. The naming is up to you. I decided to call it link. There is no convention in it. It equals to style.a. It's an anchor link. So I'm going to use it down here like this. So the nav menu contains three icons. The first one is going to be, define this. The first one is going to be the FY home. Let me grab this, copy, paste it 3 times. The next is the BI store, and the last one is AI outline user. If we save this, you can see the icons right down here. We can go back over here and start the styling. For the nav menu, we need to change display to flex first of all. The next step is going to set the background color to I'm going to use RGBA 255, 255, 255, 0.01. That's the background color. The next one is going to be, we did the display flex. The position is going to be absolute. The bottom is going to be 0 because we want it to stick to the bottom. The justify content is going to be spaced around. We want these icons to be spaced. We want them to have space between them and stretch all over the width. Next one is align items center. We want them aligned in a line in center of the element. Then we're going to set the width to 100% of the parent. The height is going to be 10% of the parent, because we have it right over here. If you set the position of an element absolute, the positioning is going to depend on the last element that either has the position absolute or the position relative. If we come back over here, you can see nav menu is a child of app element, and the app element have the position absolute, so it will stay in the boundaries of the app element. And since app element covers the whole page, the nav menu takes 10% of the page or the viewport. So next step is going to set the background, give it some glass effect using backdrop. Using backdrop filter. Keep in mind that backdrop filter doesn't work in all the browsers, but it will work for the Chrome, which we are going to use over here right now. And Firefox, you can check the check those, and you can Google those and get the working browsers. Find the working browser. We set the blur to maybe 50 pixels, and we save. Okay, the next step is going to be, make this a little bit smaller. After that, we come down over here, styling the items. Font size is going to be 1.5 rems. We're going to use the props over here. So let me pass the props here. If the p.active, the props active is true, we want the color of this icon to be set to the color.primary. So colors.primary. And if it's not active, we don't do anything. Let it be black. The next step is to set the position to relative. I will explain why in a moment. And we set the cursor to the pointer. So when we hover over it, we get the hand cursor. Set the cursor to pointer. If I save this, you can see if I hover over it, get this hand cursor. Next step, now that we've done this, we need to create this one, this little dot over here. So let me add this one first. We give this link an active props. If you pass a props like this, it will take it as a true. So you can see that the home changed to the red. I will give it to the store, and store turns to red. I'm going to use pseudo element over here before. If you're not familiar with the before and the pseudo elements, you can go ahead and search them. There's a good documentation on them. And set the content to none, basically. Set the position to the absolute. Left 0. Bottom, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, bottom 0. 0. Width, should give it a width. Width to 0.3 rems. I will copy this, change this to height, and give it a background color of the primary, color.primary. And if we save this, you can see we have a little square for all of this icons. So in order to remove this from these two, we need to check the props here. So I'm going to type in the p, pass the props, p.active. If this specific icon or link is active, we're going to set the display. Or if it's not active, let's do the reverse. If it's not active, we set the display to none. Display to none. And if it's already active, so to do nothing. And if I go ahead and save this, you can see that it's removed those little red squares from these two icons. Keep this one because it's already active. Next step is going to make it a circle from the square. So we give it a border radius of 15%. If you give an element border radius of 50%, it will always came out as a circle. So now we should move it a little bit to the right. We can use the margin over here, margin left 50% of the parent. If it do this, it gets all the way to the middle, but not exactly in the middle, because it doesn't count the width of the element itself. So in order to do that, we're going to type in translate and move the element a little bit to the left. Translate x and minus 50%. And if we do that and save it, we should get the result that we wanted. Let me see. What's the problem here? Oh, the problem is it's transform, not the translate. I misspelled it. And if we save this, you can see that it moves to the left and it's in the center. Now that we've done that, let's get back over here and maybe give this one a little bit padding. Let me see. Do we actually need a padding here? So right over here we need to change the space between to space around, and if we change it to space around we get a little bit space on both sides. It doesn't stretch it all the way in the parent. So now that we have our navigation, we can go ahead and use these two items over here. We used navigate in the last video. It's a simple object to use. We come down here, we create a variable from it, call it nav. The naming is on you again, equals to use navigate, and create another one and destruct it to get the path name from the use location. Use location gives us some information about the current location of the browser, and the path name returns if we are here in store. The path name gives us this one, so we can check it and say if we are in store, active this, make it red or the primary color. It's kind of like pink, between pink and red. If we are in product, if you're in product, you can change this one or this one to the red. It's all on you. So let's get back over here and use these two. First of all, we need to give this one on click event. When we click on this, come over here and navigate to it's the home, so we navigate to the root. The next one is going to be, let me copy this, come right down over here. Okay, so what's wrong here? Oh, it's the closing tag. Right down here, it's the store, so we navigate to the store, and we don't have any navigation or any path for the user, so we leave it empty. And if I save this, you can see if we click on this, we go to home, click on this, we go to store. So next step is going to be changing this too. In order to do that, we set the active, we give the active a condition. The condition is going to be like this: if the path name is equals to it's for the store, it's equal to stores, return this equation, the result of this equation here. So if it's actually in a store, it returns true and the active is true, so we get the red one here. And if the path name is anything rather than this one, it doesn't get the true and it doesn't get red or the primary color. So I will copy this, paste it over here, change this one to the route, the root. And if I save this, you can see that it gets changed. If I click over here, it changed to the red, If I click here, it changes to the red too. So our navigation or the nav menu is completed. We should go ahead and create our pages. For the pages, we need the home page first. Over here, we should replace it with this one. So inside the components, I will create a new file called homepage.js. We need some items over here too, so I'm going to import style from styled components. We need the colors here too, import colors from colors, and we need another item, or let's define our component first. I will use the snippet to create a functional component, define the styled element, call it and use a div, and I will call it homepage L. Replace it over here. Let's take a look at the image. What do we need here? We need a title over here, we need a search bar, we need a tab container, and content of the tab. We create the tab first, then we create the content. It's kind of dynamic, so we can use another items and other components inside the tabs, and it's actually functional, and you can use that tab inside your other projects. And then we need the bits over here. So let's start with the title. To create the title, I will go ahead and create a styled title, call it title style.h1, or let me see, yeah, h1 is fine. So I will copy this, paste it over here, and type in poly. Next step is going to style. It's going to be styling this. So to style this, let's start from the home page element. The home page element styling is going to be same for all of the pages. Sorry, it's going to be same for all of the pages, because we want the pages to be scrollable and displayed as flex, and the list the items in a horizontal way for us, or vertical, sorry, in a vertical way. So to do that, I will first define a background color for this page, and I will use the colors as always and set it to background. The next attribute that we need is flex 1, because the parent is flex. The parent is the page right over here. The page is the display is flex, so if we type flex 1, the page will take entire of the parent, entire space of the parent, entire space available by the parent. So the padding bottom is going to be 10 VH. VH is the viewport height, as I said before. But why do we set this to 10% of the viewport? If you come back over here, we set this one to 10%. And I said to you before that the parent of this nav menu is the app element, and the app element takes all of the place, all of the viewport space. So 10% of the parent of this nav menu element is actually 10 VH, and we need that padding because we don't want the items go beneath this menu. It's a glass, but we don't want it to go beneath it, so we add a padding. And if we scroll all the way down, the contents are going to be right over here, not beneath this one. Okay, let's get back to the, let me remove this, I don't want to save it. Let's get back to the home page, set the padding bottom, set the overflow to auto, so it will scroll if needed. Overflow X is hidden. We don't want anything to be scrollable horizontally. The next one is going to be min height. Min height is going to be min content. The padding top is going to be 1 rem. And we're going to hide the scroll bar using these attributes. Set the scroll bar width to 0, and the WebKit scroll bar to display none. Okay. Next step is going to styling the title. To do that, I'm coming down over here, set the font family. We should include the fonts further. So I will set this to DM mono. Set the font weight to normal. Set the font size to 1.5 rems. Then we're going to align the text in center. Text align in center. And the margin bottom is going to be 2 rems. So In order to use the fonts and include them, I'm going to use Google Fonts, and the fonts that's used for these projects are DM Mono and DM Sans, if I'm not mistaken. So I will come over here. Yes, I got them already here. You can go ahead and type DM Mono at the stylings and DM Sans at all of the styling, at all of the variations. I got them all over here. So I will copy this one. Right, come right back over here inside the public folder. I will include it in here in the head. And now that we are here, let me change the title to NFT Marketplace, or NFT Market. It's all up to you. I will close those, get back over here. Now that we got the font, if I had the font installed on my computer, so it was correct in the beginning, but now that we included it, it should be the same for you. After that, we need to take a look at this picture. We need the search bar over here, so I will come over here and create a new folder called styled. I will put the shared components, the components that I think I will use later. I will define them over there. So new file called search bar, maybe search bar dot style dot this. So the search bar, let me see. In the search bar, we are going to import the style again. Next step is going to import the icons that we need, this magnifier icon. So import RI search line from React icons and RI package. You might be able to use these icons directly. I will show you how, but mine is not working sometimes, so I'd import them manually over here. And we need the color. Import colors. Okay, let's create the functional components. I will remove this. Take this one. Const add an L to the element, and we will use the div right over here and replace this one with this one over here. So let me type something. Search, include it right down here. Search bar, and we should see. We are in the home. We don't have the home element over here, so let me replace this one with home page. And if we save now, we should see the changes. There you go. There's your polygon and your search. So come back over here, remove this. We need another styled component called input for the input over here. It's, input is equals to styled input. You can define this as a shared component, but we already have this. We already have one, none more, none less. So I will only define it over here. And let's come down here and define the items that we need. We need to put the input first. Sorry. Give it a placeholder and type in search on poly. And if we save this, you can see that we got the input here. Now let's put in the icon and go over here to style the elements. For the parents, we need the background color. background color to be equals to colors dot card background. For the next one, we need to set the display to flex. Align item center. Then give it some padding. One rem for the top and the bottom, and one rem for the sides, or you can cut it like this. We should set the border radius to 12 pixels. Margin, give it some margin over here. Margin for the top is 0, for the right is 1 rem, bottom 2 rems, and 1 rem for the left. As you can see, we got this margin and this beautiful border radius over here. And right down here, we should access this SVG. The icons are being rendered as SVG in here. So if we go ahead and inspect this, you can see that right down here after the input, you can see after the input, we got this SVG. So we can actually access that using the styled components in this way. The direct SVG child of this element, this symbol refers to the elements itself. Direct child, we can style it now. So I give it the font size of 1.5 rems, and the color of the, let's say, colors dot gray. And if you save that, you can see that it's styled properly. So let's jump into the input styling. So for the input, we need to set the font size to 1 rem actually, and we don't need any borders. Let's remove those. Border to none, and set the flex to 1, so it will take all the available space for itself. And if you come over here and click on this, you can see that there is an outline. We need to remove that. In order to do that, we come down here, set the focus. When the item is focused, we don't need any outlines. Set the outline to none. And if you do that, go back here, click here, you can see that there is no outline. Easy. Okay, the next step is going to, now that we have our search bar, the next step is going to be defining these tabs. Okay, so to do that, I will come over here, create new files. I will create the tabs inside the styled folder because we're going to need it in 2 places. Or if you are developing another project, you want these kind of components to be shared, so you can use them all over the project without needing to change, without needing to rewrite them every time that you need them. So I'm going to create a new file called tab.styled.js. Inside the tabs file, we need to import useState. We're going to use some hooks over here. useState from React. Then we need styled from styled components. We need the colors too. Import colors from, or let the VS Code do that for us. Now let's go ahead and create the component. Take this, paste it over here, equals to style.div, and replace this one with this one over here. Type something in here, get back into the home page and replace it, or actually place it, not replace it. As you can see, we got the tab over here, so we're good to go. We need some elements for this specific component. First one is going to contain these tab headers. I call them titles. The second one is the title themselves. We need to style those. And there is a tab content, which is right down here, and we load our content, which it could be either a component, a simple text, or anything you want. So right Right over here, I'm going to define some styled elements. First one is going to be title container, or you can call it uh, titles container equals to styled dot span. Next one is going to be the title itself, styled dot span. Uh, Let me see if we need any more items. Yes, we need the content. So copy this, change this to content. Content is going to be a div, and we're good to go. So let me come down over here and use this styled component that just created. So we need the title container. Inside the title container, we need the titles. So first title is featured. Let me copy those. We will replace those with dynamic values. Just bear with me. Collection and artists. And the last one is the tag. So the next thing that we need is the content. Right down here. And for now, we don't have anything to put in content, but we will have something to put in here later on. So let me type in content in here. As you can see, we got the content. Let's go back to the styling for the tab element. The tab element itself don't need any specific styling, rather than width of 100%. And for the titles container, we need to set the display to flex. Justify content center or space around. You can see that. And we need some margin of 0 for the sides and 1.5 rim. So 0 for top and bottom, 1.5 for sides. If I save that, you can see that they get a little squeezed in. We need the padding of 0 and 1 rem for the sides. Now it's good to go. Next step is going to be styling the title itself. So the title needs some heavy styling, but don't worry, nothing that we haven't done before. 0.5 rem margin and 0 for the sides. We need to set the cursor to pointer, so if we hover over them, the cursor turns to the hand. The position is going to be relative because we are going to define or use another pseudo item, and if it's not relative, it's going to take the last parent that has the position of relative or absolute, which is going to be, I think, the app element is the last item, or the page itself, I don't know. So let's get back over here. After that, we need to set some conditional attributes over here. So I will use this, pass the props p dot active. It's kind of the same as the navigation. We need this little dot. So active, if it's active, do nothing, and if it's not active, set the color. It's exactly the opposite of the process that we used for navigation. So it's actually the same, but it's the opposite. And we need the colors. If it's active, set the color to primary here, and we need this semicolon over here. If I save this, you can see that none of them are active. I will make this one active, and we should give this one something like this, or remove it. And as you can see, if it's active, it gets the color. I don't think it should be primary. I'm mistaken. It should be gray. Yes, it should be gray. My bad. Gray. And as you can see, if it's active, the color is different from the others. So, and then the next step, we're going to change the font weight. And here I will change if it's active. Let me do this. If it's not active, or if it's active, my bad. We copy this, move it over here, change this to this one, and change the font weight to 500. And there you go. Now let's go to the pseudo item here. After the content is none, the width is the 0. Let me see if we can copy this from here, paste it. Does it actually work? Let's see. And if we press save, yes, it's working actually. So save of time. Let's move to the other element, which is content. Content is going to take a margin of 0 and the 0.5 rem for the sides. There's a margin top of 1 rem, and we're good to go. Yes, as you can see, we got this nice little tags over here, and we got the margin. So in order to make it dynamic and make it like we could use it somewhere else, we're going to change some things here. We need to take an object of array of objects which contain the title and the element or the component that is going to be rendered related to that content. So I will define the object over here manually, then we take it over here by the props, using props here. So to do this, I will define the object. I will call it I equals to an array of objects which contains title, or let me make it lowercase, title, featured, and it takes an content which is a syntax of JSX like this. I don't know what should I paste in here. Let me maybe featured, I don't know, or we could say tab 1. If I save this and copy this one here, here, and here, this one, and we need one over here. So we got our 4 tabs. Let me rename this to collection, the artist, and the tag. Tab 2, tab 3, and tab 4. So when we get this one, we come down here and we need to use the React hook useState hook. To use the useState, we come over here, type const. We need a variable for this one, which we are going to call current tab, and a function which we call set current tab, and it's equal to useState, and we pass in initial value, which is going to be I0, which refers to the first item of this list, which is this. So this is a useState hook. When you say when you use useState, you get back 2 objects. The first one is the variable itself, and the second one is used to update this variable. So right down here, I'm going to use some JavaScripts for this element. We're going to map this object, pass in the item, or we call it tab. to this namespace, and right over here we return the title and replace the title with the tabs dot title. We need something else for here, because if you use map inside the component, inside your component, you should pass a key to each of these objects, to each of these childs, which are in this list, so the React knows how to remove them, which one to remove and which one to add. So I will add an ID to this object. Oops. Here, and here. I will call it ID equals to 1, and now let's change it. Come down here. Now we can check to see which item is active. So active is equals to, active is let me see, active is equals to current tab dot ID to the tab dot ID. So I forgot equal sign here. What does it say over here? It says there's an equation like the last one we use. If the current tab, which is right over here, and the first object is the first object, the ID of the current tab is equals to the tab that we are rendering on the page, then it's true and the active gets true, and we get the little dot and the change styling over here. So if I press save and I remove this one, we get nothing. Okay, let's check where's the problem. Okay, the problem was the caching on this side. I just refreshed the page over here in the browser and it worked perfectly. So let's make the click function. Now that we have this over here, we should come down here and replace this one with the current tab dot content. I misspelled the content, so grab this and content. Now it's good to go. If I replace this, save it, refresh this page, you can see we got the tab one over here, which is this one over here. So let's come down here. We need another onClick function for the titles. So when we click on the titles, we need to change the current tab if it's not already active. So if the current tab, let me grab this one, current tab dot ID is not equals to the tab dot I misspelled this one too, tab dot ID. If it's not equal, then yeah, you should set the current tab to this tab. And let me refresh the page here. If we click on this, you can see that we get the tab and the contents updated, and it's our tab working perfectly. So we should replace this one over here. We should remove this actually and move it outside here so we can pass this by props. So I will cut this one, paste it over here, come down here and pass it as an argument. Let me rename this to tabs. Come down here and pass the tabs equal to tabs. Keep in mind that this name over here is all up to you. Whatever you name it here, you should receive it over here. You should receive it over here. So destruct it or take it by props. But this one is the name of the variable here. So now that we have passed this, let's save this one, go back over here, and you could go ahead and type props here. If you type props, you get an object of props, and you need to access it this way. So type props dot tabs. But since we know the items that are being passed in, we could destruct it directly and call this one tabs, and replace this one, did this one, and we got some problems. Where's the problem? problem is let me see, on the line 44 of tab 44, yes, we don't have the eye anymore, so we should replace that with tabs. And if we save, we get the same results. So now that our tabs are working fine, we should go ahead and create the content for the tab. So in order to do that, I will close this one and this one, get right back here and create a new file called inside the components called featured tab.js. It could be any component that you want. It could be, for example, you can pass in here the search bar, any component. Let's see, if I pass in here search bar, save this, refresh here, you can see we get this, we get the search bar. It could be any component. So, or it could be something like this maybe. Let's see. As you can see, it works. So the feature tab, what do we need for the feature tab? Let's see. For the feature tab, we need the functional component, the styled as always, styled from styled components. We need uh, the let's see if we need any icons here. Let me check that. Yeah, we need an item here for this one. Icon, sorry, for this one. We need 4 images. So let's import those. But before we go ahead, I should import the images. So inside the assets, I right click, reveal in File Explorer. Right over here in assets, I create a new folder called images. Inside here, I copy the images that I got here. Let me copy those right over here, paste them, and we're good to go. Okay, let's go back here to this. Okay, we need the images, but before that, I'm gonna import the icon via chevron. Hold down, yeah, from the BI. As you can see, it worked for me right here, but sometimes it doesn't work. It's a bit tricky. I think it has something to do with the caching, and we need to use navigate inside here, because when we click on those, we need to get navigated to the product page. So right down here, we're going to import the images. So import image 1 from the assets images, and it's called image1.png. The other images are called the same, so let me copy this, paste this over here, paste this, rename this as this one. Let me show you a cool trick. If you have something to replace in your editor, in your Visual Studio, you could go ahead and press Ctrl D. It will select the first one. If you press, it shows you the other matches that if you press Ctrl D again, it will select it for you. So I will press Ctrl D again, like this. You can change them all. And if I press right arrow key, you can see it deselects them, and I can start typing in all of those places. So it's a cool trick that you could use. So I will use it here. Change this image to 2. Come down here 3 and 4. It's easy as that. So the next thing that we need is to import the colors, as always, and we need another component called img, which is a shared component that represents the image that we use here. So I will import I will create the component first. Inside here in style, I will create a new component called img.styled.js. Inside the img, we need some conditional renderings. So let's import styled, and we need img here equals to styled img, and export default g. Let's style it over here. First styling property is going to be width. So if we're using the props here, pass the props to this namespace. If the props, if the p.width, if we set any width on this, so use that width. And if we don't set any width, it should be default of 100%. It's equals to 100% and semicolon. The next thing we need is to change if we have the height, and if we have it, we set the height here. Oh, let me come down here, and height equals to, I should change this, equals to p.height semicolon, and if we don't have any height, it should be none. So save this. Another thing that we need is border radius. Border radius. We'll grab this one, paste it over here. Border radius, and we should be good to go. Let's close this. Import img. Import img from this styled as img.styled. Now that we have all of those, let's create the featured one, feature elements. So React function and component, the featured, replace this one over here, elements equals to styled dot div. Okay. And if I open the image over here, we need something to wrap this in it, wrap the items in it. We need the items, we need the title, we need the image, we need a button here for the show more. And if you look closely, I don't know if you can see it or not, there is a gradient, a transparent gradient, which makes this right here white, as you can see. If there is no gradient, if there is no gradient over here, you should see all the way green down here, or all the way bluish gray down here, because of the image. It's blurred, and it's a glassy effect. So we place a gradient over here, which goes from white or the background color to the transparent color, and creates this little smooth effect, this little smooth fading effect. And we are going to do that. So the next item we need is actually the item itself, and style.div, which contains the title, image, and the subtitle. So the item. Next one is the title, equals to style.span. Next one is subtitle, and we need a show more button. More. Let me see. We need the bottom fade, the gradient. I'm going to call it bottom fade, equals to style.span, and that's actually all we need. Let me replace this one over here. We have two show more buttons. It's not good, so we remove that, and we're good to go. Let's go to styling. First, for the featured tab, we need to set the display to grid. Grid is a new arrangement system comparing to the Flex. And if you wanna get something more about this, get to know this grid, go ahead and Google this. It's pretty simple. It might get complicated, but the concept is simple. So we need to set the grid template columns to one fraction. Fraction is a unit that's being used and it's going to actually divide the grid. So say we need we need two fraction columns. It will create two columns for us, and any items that gets inside this grid divided into two columns, no matter how much item we have here. There's always two columns. We need gap of 0.5 rem. We had the gap in the flex. You could go ahead and say column gap or the row gap. Any of those applies the gap to the defined location, which is either going to be row or either going to be the column. So we want it to be applied to both column and the row gap. So we set that to the gap and only gap, nothing more. Right down here we set the position to relative, because these two items, this show more and the fade bottom, are going to be a position absolute, so we need the parent to hold the position of relative so they don't get out of the area of the parent. So the item itself, now that we've done this, we need two more attributes after the position. Overflow to be hidden. Overflow, not the overflow y, overflow hidden. The height is going to be 400 pixels. It's a custom height. So let's go down over here, give some styling to item. The background color is going to be colors dot card background. The next one is padding. We need padding 0.4 rems. We need to set the border radius to 12 pixels. Then we need to set the display to flex, because we are going to flex to arrange them by column, like a column here. The image, the title, the subtitle. Keep in mind that you could set the display of this item to block, so they get rendered in the individual lines, but I'm going to use flex here because it gives me more control over the arrangements. Set display to flex, we've done that. Cursor to pointer, so when we hover over those, cursor gets changed, and the flex direction is going to be column. Next step is going to be the title. Title is going to be font size of 1.5 rems, margin top of 0.5 rem, 0.5 rem, and right down here, what's the problem here? Let's see. Right, there was a backslash here, so I removed it and we're good to go. And right down here we need to set the margin top to 0.5 rem, and for the subtitle we need to set the color to colors that's gray. Then right over here set the font size to 1.1 rem, no, 1 rem, not 1.1 rem. Right down here we need to style the show more. The show more is going to be, it's going to get this attribute text align, set the text align to center, set the position to absolute, left to 0, bottom to 0, so make it stick to the bottom. Height is going to be 25% of the parent. Width is going to be 100%, or you can set it to flex 1, I guess. I haven't really tested that. Font weight is going to be 500, and the padding is 1 rem. Let's see. Oh, sorry, I I write that wrong. These are for the bottom fade. It should be left 0, bottom 0, width 100%, width 100%, font weight 500. Background is back. What was that? Background. It's going to be RGBA 255, 255, 255, and 0.32 for this. Now we need the padding of 1 rem. Then we need to set the border for it. There's a border right over here, as you can see. Set the border to 1 pixel solid, and colors dot border gray border. And the next one is going to be backdrop for the blur effect. Backdrop blur, and it's going to be 17 pixels. And for the last attribute, it's going to be border radius of 12 pixels. Okay, let me include this feature tab inside here so we can see the changes. Feature tab, I include it. Get back over here. So we haven't included anything here, so let me type in F featured tab and refresh this one over here. So let me pause this. Actually, pause this one and run it again. So maybe fix the caching problem. Okay, close this one. And okay, it's loaded now. So we got the feature tab. Inside here, for the bottom fade, we need to use the following attributes. Text align center, same as the show more, position of absolute. So text align center, position absolute, left 0, bottom 0, width of 100%, height of the 25%, and the font weight. We don't need the font weight here. There is no text in here, so we don't need it. The padding of 1 rem. Actually, we don't need the padding. The background image. The background image, we use the background image because we are going to create a gradient. So you type in linear gradient, and the first color is going to be RGBA of 255 to 255, 255, and 0, which is transparent, white transparent. Then the next color is going to be the background color, which we have here in our colors. So colors dot let's see, background. And if I save this, we don't see anything because we haven't included them in here. So let's do that. We need to come over here and let's see. We have these items. We should define these items. Let me zoom out here. We should define these items in a variable here, right up here. Const items equal to array of items, id to 1. Let me see, what do we need for this? We need a title, we need the image, we need the subtitle. So it's going to be title. Title is universal 34. Subtitle is maquette, and the image is going to be image 1. Let me grab this, copy this, and 2, 3, 4. Change the title to Holy. The subtitle to Lee Kawaseva. Oh, not wrong. Yes. Image is going 2, 3, and 4. The title should change here. Actually, it doesn't matter because we don't see the title here. You can name it whatever you want to have it. Call the title 3 and title 4 over here. For here, I will change it to subtitle 3 and 4. Now, if we save those, we come down here inside this. We could use our function, or sorry, we can use our variable here, but before that, let's create the nav here equals the use navigation. Now that we have that, let's come down here, use the items and iterate them into the page. Map item, pass it to namespace, return the item, and right in the item we need the image, we need the title, and inside the title we're going to item.title. Right down here we need the subtitle, and inside the subtitle is going to be the same as the one above, subtitle, and that's it. But we need to give the image a source or SR, or the image itself. It's going to be item.image, and we need to set the width to 100%. Actually, we don't need to do that. Let me check this. Here, yes, if we don't set any width, it will set to 100%. So you can skip that part and remove this and save. If you save this, you can see in here there is a ugly, a very ugly one here. I think we missed an element here. Let me see. So the problem is, if we come over here into image, you can see that we have the width over here, and we append this one with the width already. And if you come over here, inspect this element, you can see that it's not acceptable. We should remove this width. So let's get back over here and remove this one. Remove this one, and it should be good. Yes, as you can see, we got this. So let's get back over here and use the bottom fade and the show more. So right down here, I'm going to use the show more and bottom fade. Show more. Inside the show more, we need to use the icon of the chevron bottom, chevron down actually, and the text of show more. If I save this, you can see that we get this beautiful gradient over here. We inspect it. See, there's a gradient here. Let me display this to none so you can see the difference. See, you get this glassy effect, but we use that gradient to cover that. And there's a show more button, but the cursor is not changing. So let me set the cursor to pointer, and there you go. As you can see. So right down here, we need to set the item, items unclick event on click. When you click on this, it will navigate us to the product. So let's test it out. If we click, we go to product. Do we have anything on product here? Let's go back here. Yes, we have the product. So what's the problem? Yeah, it's products. Now that we fixed this one, it's time to go ahead and create this bit list right down here. So I will create a new component called bit list, and I haven't decided yet where to create it actually inside the style or inside the component itself. So I don't think we are going to use it again, this one, so I will create that as an individual component and not a shared one. So right down here I will click new file. I will call that my bit list. That's JS. Same as others, we need the style. We need the bit image, which is this one. Move it right over here and navigate to the home page. Now we should be good to go. We need the bit image and import bit image from the assets image, and the image name is bit image dot png. So the next step is going to be importing the colors right down here, and we need the img that we've just created here. And now we need to create a functional component. Replace this one right over here, styled.dev, and take this, replace it over here. Oops. Let me include it. It's bit list. Get back over here, include it. Bit list, bits list. Okay. Now that everything is fine, and yes, we got it over here, we should get to styling and creating the elements. For this specific component, we need the title. We need the container first that we have already, my bit list element. We need the title. We need the container or a list container for this bits. We need the bit itself, the bit container or the bit item. We need the image, which we've just imported from here. We need the title, we need the subtitle, and the price or the amount for this specific item. So to do that, I'm going to create a new title here. Title equals to style dot h3 maybe. H3 sounds fine. Then we're going to create a new list, item list, and it's a div. We're going to need a bit item, const bit item, or let me create an individual component for the bit item, because we are going to use some elements inside it. We could actually go ahead and create a new file for the bit item, but I rather to keep it inside here, because we're not going to use the bit item separately from this bit list. If you have a big project or a complicated project that you think you will need this specific component again, you can go ahead and create it as a individual component, but I will create it right inside this my bit list component. So we'll remove it, rename it to bit item, and right over here I create new bit item element equals to style dot span. And let me see, what do we need here? We need some other elements, but First, let me replace this one. Okay, and we need the bit data, which is going to be this one, and we have the amount and we have the image. So const bit data equals to style.span, const bit title equals to style.span. I think we're going to need the description. Maybe I called the description here, not the subtitle, with this. And the bit amount, const bit amount equals to style.span. There you go. Now that we have created this one and all of this, we are going to place them inside the bit item, like the followings. First, we need to use the image. So img, we need the width of 3 rem here, or maybe 4 rems. Height of 4 rems too. Border radius is going to be 12 pixels. And the src, or the source, is going to be bit image. Save that. Let's see. Only one default export. Yeah, the problem is right over here. I should remove this, and we're good to go. Yes. So after this, we're going to use the bit data, wrap it around these two elements, the title and the description. Oops. Go ahead and do this. Actually, we need to place something inside them, so it's not a good way to use them. Right here, I'm going to type Clay Boys, this title over here, Clay Boys 174. The description or the subtitle is Baldo. After this, we're going to use the amount, bit amount, and it's going to be 1.4 ETH. Press save. We have the bit item right over here. Now let's move here and use the items. In order to use them, we're going to need to use the title first. Title, which is your bits. Then we need the item list. After that, we're going to create 2 items, 2 instances of the bit item. Oops. And if we save, you can see that we got them right over here. Now let's go and style them. Start from the top with the bit list itself, the bit element. I will give it some padding. 0, 1 rem for the 0 for the top and bottom, 1 rem for the sides. Margin top, so we get a little space on top. Margin top equals to 1 rem. Then this one right here. Okay. Then we need the title, which is going to be font weight of 500, and the margin bottom of 1 rem. Bottom of 1 rem. We go down here to the item list, set the display to flex, and the flex direction to column. A row gap to 1 rem. And that's it for the list. After that, we need to style um, the bid item. So let's do it right over here. Start with the display flex, then set the padding to 0 to the 0.5 rem, cursor to the pointer, then the width is going to be 100%. The align item is going to be center, so they're right in the middle. For this specific element we are going to use animation, so I will give it the animation right over here with the transition property of the background color and the border radius. The transition duration of maybe 0.5 seconds. It sounds fine. Keep in mind that you could combine these two together in a single transition attribute, but I'd rather to do it this way. And here we use the hover when we hover over it. We get the background color to change to this one, to colors dot gray border right over here. Let me remove this. We change the border radius to 12 pixels. And now if we hover over it, you can see that we get this animation over here. So let's go to the bid item itself and style that. The big bid data is, I think it's display flex. Make sure. Yeah, it gets margin lift of 1 rem. Set the display to flex. Set the flex to 1, so it takes all the available space. Flex direction is a column. The justify content is going to be center, and the row gap is 0.5 rems. Yeah, that sounds fine. Now, as you can see, it adjusts them to the styling that needed and pushes this one to the back because it's flex 1. It takes all the available space for itself. Now we go right over here to the B title, set the font weight to 500%, then come down here, set the color to gray, colors that gray, save those, and for the bid amount I think we should change the font weight to of 500% and the justify self to the flex end. I don't think that's necessary, but I will do it anyway. Justify self to flex end. Let me comment this. There is no difference because it's already flex 1 and it will push this one to the end. Okay, now that we've done that, we got our bid list up and running over here. As you can see, no matter how much elements we add to this list, it's going to get extended to the down, so it's ready. And speaking of ready, I think the home page or the collections page is ready, and we should move to the store page. Let me open the image for the store page right over here and close this one. As you can see, oops, it's a wrong image. Let me get this one and put it right over here. And close this, and close the home page. We come down here inside the components, we create a new file called store page.js. So for the store page, we're going to import styled as always. We're going to import colors. Then we're going to need some icons. As you can see, this one, and right. I think no, it's not in this page. So we're going to need a total number of 3 icons over here. So let's go ahead and import them. Import the RI search line, search 2, I don't know, search line. Yeah, it's from RI package, and import VS 3 dots of this. Come over here, place and change it with VS. It should be lowercase. And we need one more, and it's going to be a FI arrow left of the FI package. We should be fine. Next thing we need is to use the tabs. As you can see over here, we got the tabs, and we already have the tabs component over here. So let's go ahead and import it. Tabs from, or import it like this. We need the image, import the store image 2 from the assets. The images, and it's called shop image 2 .png, and we need another item, the img from styles and the img, and we need to use navigate over here for use navigate from the React Router DOM, and we should be fine to go. So let me create the functional component, store page, copy this, and do the same procedure that we've done so many times here. Right over here, copy this and replace it over here. We should be good to go. Store page, replace it here with this one. If we come to this page, we should get the store page. Beautiful. Okay, so let's get back over here, start the work. For this page, for this specific page, we're going to need a container for this section. It's going to be called a top menu. Then we need a container for this one right over here to get the hero section, kind of hero section over here. And then we got the tabs that are already working and the content for the tab. So in order to do this, I'm going to define the components right over here using styled components. I'll create a new styled component called top menu equal to style.span or div, and right over here we'll use the top menu, place the FI arrow here, then the search bar, or we could place them inside the span because we're going to use it like this, span, and the search icon, which is RI search, then the, let me see, the other icon is PS3 dots. As you can see, we got them all over there, right on top. Then we need to style the components right over here. So in order to do that, I'm going to come over here, get some space, type background color, same stuff as before. The color is going to be background, the flex is going to be 1, the padding top is 1 rem, the padding bottom is 1 rem, or 10 is 10. The edges, it's kind of the same as the other pages, so let me go ahead and grab this, paste it over here. Now we got the padding, we got the overflow, mean height, mean content, scroll bar, yeah, everything is the same. So let's come down here, set the display to flex, then the justify content to center. We need to set the padding 0 for top and bottom, 1 rem for sides, align items center. Then the font size is going to be 1.5 rem. Actually, we need to set this font to space around, or space between, to make them go all the different ways. So after that, we need to come down here, and on this one, create onClick function, or the event. And when we click on this, use the nav and go to the last page. So we have to define the nav here. We can also use navigate. And for this one, we are going to need a little bit padding, or the margin to the left, so, or to the right. I'm coming right over here, give it some inline styling. So to use inline styling, you should follow the it's kind of like the CSS, but it's the kind of serialized into the JavaScript. So you should go ahead and type style. In here, it's a JavaScript namespace already inside the bracket, so we're going to pass in an object. So we create a new object. In here, we type margin. Let me see. We need the margin right? Margin right. Keep in mind that you should write it in camel case, not the CSS like this. It doesn't work. It's not a valid JavaScript object or naming convention. So I will make it camel case. Margin right is equals to 1.5 rem, and if we save this, you can see that we got the inline styling over here. So I think we got the top menu ready. It's time to move to the hero section. I will create a new component called store hero, maybe. Let me create this one. New file, store hero.js. Right in here, import styled, import colors. Let's see what we need here. The colors, the style. We need the store image for this one. So import store image from the assets. And it's called shop image 1.png. After that, we need the button, which we don't have right now, but we will create it in a second. Import img from, or I did auto import it for us. So I said button. We need to create a new component, shared component button, because we are going to use it here twice and right over here. As you can see, we got 3 buttons here. So I will create a new component in the style folder called button.style.js. Import the style. Right down here, import the colors, and we need to create the button. We don't need the React function component here. We just create the style component itself and export it. Go to style.button, and we're going to export it. As you can see, we got our style components. For the button, we need the background color to be primary, but depending on which button we are going to use and which props we pass to this component, we are going to change the background color. So in here, I'm going to create a condition. First, we pass in the props, then we check for the BG color to see if there is any BG color passed in or what. If it's passed in, we use the p.bg color for the color, and if it's not, we're going to check for another condition or another props, which is going to be p.np, which stands for not primary. And if it's not primary, we should use the colors dot background or the card background, which is white. And if we don't have the p.np or the np props, we use the colors dot primary, the primary value or the color. And there you go, we got the components background ready. So let's recap. If we got the background color passed in, we use it. If we don't have it, we check for another props, which is np. If we have the np and the np is true, we use the background color of white or the card background color, whatever it is you defined in here. And if it's not set, we use the primary. So if you just define a button without any props, you should get the primary one. So next step is going to be for the color. Color is kind of the same. Let me pass the props first. If we have the color props, do something, and if we don't have it, do something else. So if we have it, we are going to use it, p.color, and if we don't have it, we check for the primary again, if this button is primary or not. If it's primary, go ahead and do nothing. If it's not primary, go ahead and do nothing, because we want the color to be default or the black. And if it's primary, go ahead and use the colors dot card background, which is going to be white here. So next step is going to be for the border radius. Border radius is the same, 12 pixels. Cursor is pointer. The border, we should set the border to none. And here, because there is a shadow for the primary and there is not a shadow, there is no shadow for the regular one, you should check the props again for the primary value. So pass in the props. Let's see if there is a p.np. If it's not primary, we get no shadows, and if it's primary, we get the shadow here. I got the shadow values right by me here, box shadow. I will type them manually. 0 pixels, 15 pixels, 23 pixels, RGBA. Maybe I set to 255, 2278, and 0.12 for the opacity. Column, semicolon. There you go for the box shadow, and we're going to do the same for the border. We set the border to none over here. We could go ahead and override it because the attributes are getting applied in this order from top to bottom. If you do something here, you can override it in the next line. So in here I will do something like, by default the border is none, so I'll fix it in a moment. P dot np, if it's not primary, again we give it a border of border set to 1 pixel solid, and the color is, remove this, the color is going to be colors dot gray border semicolon. And if it's not primary, and if it's primary, we do nothing. Okay, next step is the padding. Padding is going to be 0.5 rems. Then we check for the primary again, because there is a difference between the padding on the sides for the primary one and the regular one. We check here for primary, pass in the props. Keep in mind that if you are going to use a lot of props, you could escape over here, escape from the string, go to JavaScript, pass in the props, and then over here start to type all of your styled component attributes, and you can access the P without even wanting to pass it again. So it's another trick. Right here we are going to check for the P dot not primary. If it's not primary, we get 1 rems, and if it is primary, we get the 3 rems. And semicolon over here. Font size is going to be 1.1 rem. We need another thing here called FW, or full width. It's another prop that we are going to pass in if we need that. So if we get the props of FW, we set the width to 100%, and if it's not, then we do nothing. Then we need another thing here called disabled, which will set the opacity and the cursor to the default, so we cannot, we don't get the hand cursor. So in here we check for another props, which is disabled. P dot disabled, and if it is true, we set the opacity to 0. Then we set the cursor to default, and if it's not disabled, we do nothing. That's it. Next one is going to be, I think it's the flex one, yeah. If we get the passing props, if we get the p dot flex, we set this to display to flex. We need this one because we should convert this button's displaying style to the flex, so we could use this one over here. Let me show you this little span inside the button. We need to do this if we want to use another element inside the button, otherwise it's going to get out of a line here. So we'll get back over here, we go by top on top and start typing display flex, justify content to center, and align content center, then column gap to 0.4 rems. Should be good to go. Save this, and if it's not, we do nothing. I think that's it for the button. I told you there's going to be some slightly heavy styling here, so after we've done that, we go over here, import the button from styled button to this. Okay, now that we have the button, we should go ahead and use them. Let me check if there's another thing that we need to do over here. Store hero, no, there's not much. So for the store hero we need an element. Let me create a React functional component, place this style dot section. Rather to use the section for the hero, you can use div or span, but span doesn't make real sense here. Div is better, but I'd rather to use the section. After that we go back, let me type something here, hero section. We go back over here, include it in this place, hero section, or sorry, the store hero, and remove this. We got it now. Now we need to style some elements. We should define some elements here. First is going to be this image. We have it already here, so we don't have to define anything. We just go ahead and use it. We need to define this title and the subtitle here. So counts the title, goes to style.span. Subtitle is span 2. We got something called info container. It's a span 2. We need a bottom container, and we should be good to go. So let me change this to bottom container. And we could go ahead and use them already. So we need the image first, img. This RC is going to be store image, or yeah, we got the store image here. And the width is going to be 30 viewport width. And if we change the width of this viewport, I'll show you. You can see that the image gets bigger and bigger. It's responsive. So next step is going to be use the info container. Inside the info container we use the title, which is crystals. Right down here, the subtitles, which is verified artist. The title is misspelled here. Crystals, verified artist. We need the 2 buttons here, so we use the button container. We need 2 buttons here. First one is follow. The second one is contact. And we should pass in something like this with NP, and as you can see, if you don't pass in the NP, we get this one. If we pass in the NP, we get this bottom. So let's style the components. We start with the element itself. Get it the margin top of 1 rems. We set the display to flex. We set the row gap to 1 rem. The flex direction is column. The align items is center, and the margin bottom is 1.5 rems. As you can see, it just changed so quickly and got close to the look that we wanted, but there's a little bit tweaking left. So the next is going to be the title. Title needs the font weight of 500 and the font size of 1.5 rems. Save that. We get the styles applied. For the subtitle, we need the color to be gray. colors gray. Then for the info container, we should set the display to flex. Then flex direction to column. Align items center. Then set the column gap to 1 rem. The 1 rem should be enough. Yes. The bottom container should be flex too, I guess. Let's see. Yeah, the bottom is flex. Bottom container should be flex. And the column gap is 1 rem. And we got this. The header is ready, and it should be responsive, as you can see. So after that, we need to include the tabs here, but we already have them. Let me make it a little bit smaller, right down here. And for the tabs, we need an object here. So const tabs equals to array of objects. Maybe we could grab them from here and paste it here. Then change this ones to artwork, collection, and about. So I should remove the last one. It's going to be artworks, collections, and about. It's going to be tab 3, or change it to about. Change it to collection, and we're going to need a tab for this one. So for now, I'll type in artworks as a string, and right down here we should use or not inside here, my bad. Now that we have the store hero, we should get back to the store page. Right in here we should define this variable, remove, or not yet, we need another tab here, so let's skip those. Now that we have this, I come down here, include the tabs with the proper props, and if we save, we can see that we got our tabs here, nice and easy, without any duplicated code or anything. That's the beauty of React. So the next step is going to define this one for the content of first tab. In order to do that, I will create a new component here. Maybe we could use. Let me see if we need anything here in the store page. We could define something like this. It's an image, so I will define the element inside the object. So in order to do that, I will come over here. I told you can use JSX syntax over here. I will go ahead and say it's artwork, it's an image, img, with the width of 100%. I think it's set by default, so I don't have to set that. This RC is going to be store image 2. We have it already, and if I save it, let's see what happens. Refresh the page. Yes, we get the image. Nice and easy. But as you can see, there's a background for this image. Okay, zoom in. There's 2 sets of background, I guess. I'm not sure if the background is for the image itself or not, but we will apply that if you want. But I'd rather not to do that because it's not very complicated. You could wrap this inside the div, give it a background color, a padding, and the border radius. That's all. You're good to go. So that's it. Because it's the content inside the tabs, there is no purpose in showing that because we've already done more difficult things, than this one. So it should be easy for you guys. The next step is going to, now that we have this page is ready, we should move to the next page. As you can see, we got this. Let me make it a little bit bigger. As you can see, we got the top menu, the navigation works. The problem is, yeah, we go to the store page. We should change this if we want. We could set the inline styling for this one to be a cursor. It's up to you if you want to do that. We got the top, we got the image, we got this titles, we got the buttons, and we got the functional tab. So let's move to the next page, which is the artwork itself. For the artwork page, we're going to go ahead and create a new component here, a file here called product page.js. We need to import style. We need the colors. We need some icons, as you can see over here. We need the arrow left. We need the 3 dots, and we need the card here. So let's go ahead and grab those. Import BS 3 dots from bootstrap icon. Import fi arrow left right down here. Import the AI outline shopping cart, this one. And now that we got our icons, let's import the bottom. Let's import the use navigate, because we have a navigation button here. Or we could have done something much cooler than this one, that we could have created an element called navigation back or something like that inside the shared folder and include it anytime that we want it, because we've already done that, I guess 2 times or 3 times, and does not make any sense to do that, keep repeating that. But you can do it. I didn't do that, so I just told you that you guys have that in back of your mind, that you should do that and define that inside your styled component, inside your shared component. So once again, we go ahead and import the use navigate from the React DOM. Now that we have all of those, create the functional component for this page equals to this element equals to style.dev. We come over here, grab these styles, copy those, paste them here. Actually, you could have had a page element, page container, and inside the shared, and use it for all of your all of this styling. You don't have to copy this. Actually, I'm going to do that right now. A file called page container.styled.js, because that does make a lot of sense. Import styled from here, const page container equals to styled div, and paste this here. Export default page container. We come over here, remove this, and use page container. Import it from page container from styled page container. That's it. I copy this, come to store page, remove this one, import this. Oops, my bad. Okay. Oh, it's because of I have an extension that renames the tag automatically. So page container, it will auto import it for us. Close this. Oh, there's a problem with this. JSS closing tag for page container. I will check it later. Let me come to the home page. Remove this and place this at page container. inside the store page, copy this, paste it over here, refresh the page. We don't have the colors. What's the problem? Inside the page container, yeah, right here. Where is the page container? Here. We need the colors, so import that. And if you refresh now, it should be fine. And you could do the same for the back element. So close this, get back to product page. Right down here, we need another element, or actually four more elements here. First one is the top menu. So top menu is equals to style dot. You could define top menu as shared element to styles dot div or a span. Const title equals to style dot span. Let me share this. Yeah, we need this one for the artwork. Title const hold bit style dot span, maybe, or it's div. And let me see what else do we need here. And hold bit text const hold bit text is equal to style dot span. And there you go. For this page, we are going to define this. Then we create individual elements or component for this section right over here, and then we define this one inside this product page. We don't create any specific component for this one. So just go ahead, define this, create a new component for this, and define this one. So inside here, let me use the top menu first. So I will copy this, paste it over here, close it, use the FI arrow left with the onclick triggered, onclick event. Right here we use nav to go -1 and close this. Right in here we define the nav, use navigate. For the FI arrow, we use the title here, art work. Keep in mind that you could get the title or any other information the page dynamically. It's just static that you hard type them or hard code them inside your elements. And we need the PS3 dots. And if you press save, go to the product page, refresh. Oh, we haven't included it here. Place this one with product page, and we get this. Nice. Get back over here, start styling the top menu. For the top menu, I think we need the display flex. Yes, we need the display flex here to justify the content. It's going to be space between. The align item is going to be center. Font size is going to be 1.5 rems, and the margin for the top and bottom. Margin for top bottom is going to be 0, and for the side it's going to be 1.5 rem. We spell the margin. And we got this. Okay. For the title, we need to set the font size to 1.2 rems. When we set the font size here in the top menu, it affects all of the child elements, so we have to change them individually if you want another look on them. Font weight 500. For the hold bit, we need the display flex 2. So display flex, align items, center, font size 1.3 rems. Then we need the background color, which is going to be colors.primary. We need the color, change the color to colors.card background. Then we set the border radius to 12 pixels, padding up 1 rem, 2 rem for the sides, or maybe 1 rem for every direction. Margin is going to be 0 for the top and bottom, 0.5 rem for the sides. Column gap is going to be 0.5 rems. And the last one is margin top, which is 1 rem. For the whole bit text, set the flex to 1. So let me include the bit right down here, hold bit after the top menu, hold bit, and wrap it around the icons, the card icon, AI outline card, shopping cart, I don't know, outline shopping cart, yes, we got it over here. Then we need the hold bit text, which is going to be a little bit smaller, just like this. We need to set this one to confirm 4.0 ETH bit. Then we need a button here, which contains this text, hold to bit. We need to pass some props. If we save this like this, you can see hold the bit doesn't look quite well, so we go ahead and set the BG color to colors.primary, or the card background, sorry, the card background, and then we set the color to the primary. If we save, we get this. So next step is going to be, let's see, all the bit text is the flex one, good. Next step, actually we need to define this one, this right here. So I think we're missing something because this icon is not the same size as this one. So let me come down here and check it. Inside the hold bit, we could actually, because it's inside the hold bit and it's going to be rendered as SVG, we can come here and say the parent, the parent, or the element, sorry, direct child, direct SVG child, font size to 1.5 rem. As you can see, change the size, so that's good now. Okay, let's move to the other section, which is going to be defining this area. So to do that, I'm going to define it as a product card. I will create a new element, style element, so we can use it later if we want to. I will call it product card.styled.js. Inside the product card, we need the styled, we need the colors, we need the two images, this art image and the shop image over here. So import art image from images. Let's see if I'm in the correct directory. And images, and it's called artwork, or it's artwork image .png. Rename this one to the shop image. Right here we change this to shop image 1. After that we need to import the bottom, then we need the img, and that should be it. So let's create a new functional component and remove this, select this, replace it over here, styles, div, and there you go. Next thing we need to do is an info container, which contains all of the information right in here. It's info container, we got the bottom container and the image itself. So info, let me copy this, info container, the info itself of this. It should be span, I guess. Yes, span, all of them actually. Info, then we need the name, then after the name we need the price or the amount. I'll call it price. And for the bottom container is called span2, and we need another thing called green circle, which is this one. So we'll copy this and circle, or we could just call it circle. Okay, let me replace this over here and here, type something, literally something, get back over here and include it before the whole bit. It's called let's see, product card, yes. Save it, and we get the something here, so we're good to go. After that we should use the elements that we've just defined. So first one is going to be the image, mg_src is going to be the art image. Next one is info container. After that we need the info, then we need the name. Name is going to be elements, and the price is 354.80. Yeah, we got them right there. I will move it over here so we can see this one actually. Then in here, after the info container, we need the bottom container. Bottom container is going to contain two buttons. First one, bottom, it contains the circle and the text of disabled. The next button, let me grab this. Next one is going to contain option, and it takes the flex property. It takes some props, the flex that is disabled, and the FW and the MP, the props that we just defined inside the bottom container. put the bottom components. Actually, it's going to be FW and the non-primary. So if we save those, we can see that we get this button. I don't know where is the other one because of the styling. I think it's out of the view. So after the styling, it should be right back in here. So now that we have them all, I think we should. Oh, we need another thing, which is the shop avatar or the image here. I forgot that. Inside the info container, after the info, we need another image with the width of. I set it to 15% of the viewport width, and it is RC of shop image. Let's save. Yes, we got this. So let's style them. So we should start with the container, the mother container actually, the product card container. Background color. Background color is something custom. It's not inside the color palette that we have. So it's RGBA 250, 250, 250, and the opacity of 10% or 0.1. Next one is going to be box shadow, which takes 0 pixels, 15 pixels, 50 pixels, and RGB, the color of RGBA 000, 000, and the 0.12. There you go. The border radius is 12 pixels. The margin is 1 rem, 0.5 rem, and 0 and 0.5 rem. Margin for top 1 rem, for the right 0.5, for bottom 0, and for the left 0.5 again. We save this, we go to the next line, we set some padding 0.5 rems. Then we set the display to flex here, flex direction column, and the justify content to center. Save this. As you can see, it get a little bit squeezed in. We get some we get some background here, right over here. As you can see that it might not be obvious, but it's there. Next one, the next container is going to be info container, display flex, justify content, center or space between. The align items is going to be center, and we get the padding of 2 rems, 1 rem for the sides, and that should be it. As you can see, if we go to the info section, it's display flex, then flex direction is column, the font size is 1.5 rem, row gap is 0.5 rem, and justify content is center, just like that. For the name, we don't actually have any styling for the name. Could go ahead and remove this if you want. For the price, we need the for the price we need the font weight of 500, and right in here for the bottom container we should set the display to flex here, and the bottom container itself should be flex. It should take all the place available. Display should be set to flex, and the column gap is 1 rem. And if you save this, you see we got the button here, but the styling is a bit mixed up, I guess. So let me see if there's any problems. Yes, you can see we misrighted it here. Default, and see cursor, we got no opacity. That's weird. I'll check into it. Oh, the opacity is 0. It should not be 0. It should be 0.5 rems, half 50% of the opacity. So let's go to the bottom here and change this one to 0.5 rem, or 0.5, sorry, 5 rem. And you can see it gets disabled. And the cursor should be default. And as you can see, we don't get the hand cursor here. It's disabled. So let's get back over here, and it's inside the circle. We set the width and the height to 1.2 rems. Just copy this. Come here, hide, and display to inline block. Margin is going to be auto and 0. Then we need to set the border radius to 15%, 50%, because it will end up getting like a circle. Then we need to set the border, because there is a border over here, a white border. It's not obvious, but it is there. I can see it because it's half opacity. You can't see it good, but there's a border here. So 2 pixels solid, and the colors dot card background, which is white. Then we need the background color to be set to green. That's it. If we save it, you can see we get the button or the circle here, disabled button. And actually we have the product page ready. It's up and working. We got the elements over here, we got the bit container here, and as you can see, now that we are inside the store, we get this navigation indicator. We are inside the home, but when we are inside the product, we don't see this navigation. Actually, I'm going to count the product as a child of store, so I will get the store navigation indicator when we are inside the product. So let me go over here in the nav menu and add another condition to this, or if the path name equals to store, or it's equals to product. And if we save, you can see when we are inside the product, we get the indicator, and that's good. Okay, now that we've done that, the project is over, and we've managed to implement this beautiful design by Nicolás using React and styled components. As you can see, we got the pages over here, we got this search bar, we got these tabs. We could navigate between the shop, and we got the same tab over here. We got the custom buttons, we got this navigation menu on top, we got the product page over here, we got everything. So make sure you guys like and subscribe to my channel. Feel free to write me down in comments what you want me to do, what kind of tutorials you want me to do for you, or is the tutorials too long, you want it to be shorter, or and in the end, let me shout out to Nicolás for his beautiful design that he provided us, and make sure you guys check his Dribble page out, and take care.